everybody, welcome to the Marketing Water Cooler podcast. My name is Jeremy Francesi. Thank you for stopping by. If you tuned in last week, you know we were laser focused on discussing the shift in the B2B buying journey and its impact on the role of marketing and communications. At the end of last Tuesday's episode and echoed throughout the week, we challenged you with one question. If the way buyers buy changed, shouldn't the way marketers market change too? So today, we're going to talk about learning about your buyer from your buyer, so that by the end of this episode, 10, 12 minutes max, we'll keep it tight, you'll leave with a few new strategies and tactics to help you learn more about your ideal buyer, and as a result, be able to optimize your marketing strategies. Now, first, we need to understand a little bit about who's currently talking to your customers so that we can provide some context for what we'll outline in the back half of the episode. Now, in your organization today, who talks to customers? And let's be honest, why are they talking to them? Because in most organizations, most likely in yours, the role of talking to the customer, it's siloed between a few departments. It's typically sales, product, maybe customer service and customer success, right? And look, maybe this was a goal by leadership, right? Streamline workflow, increase profitability. But as somebody that spent their life in sales and like, it's stunning to me how few marketers actually talk to customers. And let's be honest, aren't just pushing them to sales. It's always sales, products, service, and customer success. And what are they trying to accomplish, right? Sales, they're trying to sell something and maybe retain the client or retain business. Service is trying to put out fires, customer success teams. And the product team is just trying to get feedback so that they can improve the product, right? The whole conversation is the product. Now, look, they're all just doing their job. There's nothing wrong with that. But why is it important to identify? It's important because each role in the company we referenced, without any fault of their own, is acting in their own interest. Sales wants the deal. Service wants to get rid of the problem. Product wants feedback on their product. Nobody's engaging the customer to learn about them, to stay well informed as the customer evolves. So it's pretty clear and pretty common sense as to why so many organizations are really far behind in understanding how buyers actually acquire information, tap their peer groups, and buy products and services. And look, nobody's asking, there needs to be a different agenda, right? And so how can we learn about our customers and do so in a way that allows us to optimize our marketing strategy? First, let's isolate what is it that makes up a good strategy, right? What is it that we need to be able to make an effective strategy? Because we don't want to waste customers' time. We don't want to waste any of our time asking questions that don't ultimately create value. So let's think about this, right? What are some things that we actually want and need to build a great strategy? Because maybe we're going to ask customer, we can ask, how'd you hear about us, right? Or, why'd you buy from us? Sure. Those are B- questions at best. What do they actually tell you? Like, think about this for a minute. Your customer went from being unaware of a problem to unaware of a problem, unaware of a category, then being aware of a category and aware of the problem, to being unaware of a problem, unaware of a category, unaware you existed, to being aware of all three. Over the course of all of that time, as your customer worked their way through that progression, how did you hear from us? Is absolutely nothing compared to asking, what created the demand where you needed to engage with somebody to solve the problem? Good. So let's get into some details. How can you learn about your customer? We're going to talk through 3 examples. The first is shadow. You can join a sales call. You can watch and feel and see how customers respond to the information being shared with them by the actual salesperson. As somebody that's been in this industry, that's been in sales my entire career, it's invaluable to see the feedback, the body language of when a buyer leans in and when a buyer pulls back. What information makes them more curious? What information makes them seem more confident, right? More engaged in the call? What information makes them pull back? Or maybe what way is the information being packaged that makes that response? The salesperson and somebody who's been in the room, sometimes it's hard to tell because you're so invested in the conversation and the outcome. As a marketer who maybe just wants to learn and understand, you're going to notice a lot. Just like shadowing somebody on a job interview or just shadowing somebody in any part of life, right? Watching somebody cook You notice little things that they may not notice because they're just in the process, not watching the process. So shadow a call, right? And you can use Gong and pre-recorded capabilities that allow you to watch on, after the fact. But you can shadow and really interact with the process of them receiving information. That's the big piece, receiving information and the effect it has on their engagement, on their excitement, on their confidence, on their reluctance to engage deeper. The second piece is what we'll call Roundtable, right? Where we put together a close group of your closest customers, where you can go deep into understanding their buying process internally. Not like, why'd you buy from us? How many stakeholders do you have? How long did it take? How many problems needed to emerge for this to become a real problem you took seriously? Everybody has things in their job that they don't enjoy. Not everything becomes something that necessitates a purchase decision. At what point did it get to the piece, to get to the table where they said, this is a real tangible priority on a to-do list that we're going to make room for, make budget for, go acquire information and prioritize, right? Bring a group together, have a conversation, learn from them about what's happening, right? And the other thing is join groups, right? If you take your subject matter, cybersecurity, IT, healthcare, whatever your business is, go check out and join a few LinkedIn and Facebook groups. Check out some Slack channels, maybe. Just go watch. Don't poach business and try to get in the feed and try to sell things, right? That's not the best way to use it. But what you can do is watch the behavior. Watch how they utilize the access to their community. I'm in a number of groups, for marketing, business. What we're finding is millennials and younger generations are using these communities like baby boomers used Google. In the communities I'm in with subject matter specialty, where like there's a group of specific types of people in specific industries, not general, whatever. Those people are going in there saying, we're going to think about hiring this person, this consultant. We're going to buy this product. We're having this problem. What do you think about it? Any experiences with it? What are your thoughts and contributions? Like, if they're asking their peers, you can learn what are the common questions. You can also go into the comments and really see what resources are people sharing as value. Hey, John, I had a similar problem. This is something that can maybe help educate you. Whose company is that? What blog or podcast? What resource are they sharing? You'll also see how people are communicating about other members of your industry. Now, look, some groups won't let you in because the person that's in the admin may not feel like you add value to the group based on whatever your profile looks like, right? Maybe they think you're just a salesperson and you're not going to actually contribute, but go join a few groups. Watch, learn how they talk about their problems. You'd be stunned how honest people are around, I have been struggling to solve this problem in my business for 18 months, and it is absolutely the reason we're not achieving our potential and revenue goals and culture. What did you guys do to solve this? And you'll see this incredible, vibrant community of like-minded people in the same industry, the same jobs, the same roles, spilling everything they have to this person to help them, from companies they hired to try it, things that didn't work, the whole 9 yards. That is invaluable for you to look at, because what we're trying to identify is not how did somebody hear about you? What created the demand? What made it so they had to solve it, and then they had to meet with you to talk about how to address it together? Shadow somebody that's actively in a sales conversation, bring together a group through a roundtable to understand directly from the customer, and go join groups and understand directly how those people engage with each other. Okay. Now, let's shift a little bit less away from strategies and let's talk tactics, right? Let's talk very specifics, right? What are great questions to ask your customers to elicit actually valuable feedback? We're going to rattle off a couple line of questions here. Okay. First and foremost, this is a huge, how long in your organization did you experience the pain of this problem? Okay, how long in this did you experience the pain of the problem before you acquired your first solution? Was that your last solution? Or did you end up replacing it? Understand how that process developed. The truth is, how many times do we buy something and it doesn't work out the first time, right? So they may be evaluating a solution, but like,
a demand was created earlier, potentially, where they actually went from being unaware of a problem to aware of a problem, unaware of a market to aware of a market, to unaware that a solution provider existed, to being aware that they existed, and then actually transacting with them, and it didn't work. Well, how long did that take place? What created the confidence to purchase? What didn't work out? Understanding that can be really, really helpful, right? Now, from there, you can ask things like, how long in your organization did you do research on the problem independently, right, before you brought it to the rest of the team? That is a very interesting question to ask if you ask the right person. That's the end user of a product or service that receives tremendous benefit from it. How long did you research independently before you brought it to your team? People don't just go about their day complaining about their job all the time to everybody, especially to their bosses. Let's be honest. There's probably things in everybody's job on a day-to-day basis that's frustrating and painful and uncomfortable that doesn't necessarily allocate budget for or become aware at the executive level, right? Part of that needs to be a cultural thing to open up the comfort of being able to talk about it. But understanding that timeline can be very valuable for marketing. Then you continue. How long after it was presented to the team, right? How long after it was presented to the team did they take it seriously and engage in identifying real solutions and real options to address it? Let's think back about last Tuesday's episode. The majority of the process in a buying journey is independent research and discovery. The minority of the time is spent with vendors. If you can get a better understanding of how long they experienced the problem before they brought it to anybody else, how long they did independent research, and then after they brought it to people, after having done independent research, how long it took for them to really make it a priority and go investigate solutions, it can give you a really good understanding of the life cycle of that buying process. It's not just awareness, consideration, conversion. It's not about the funnel. It's about humans. And it's about how they interact with problems, collaborate internally, and go about solving problems. Sometimes it takes longer than we expect. Marketing needs to enable that, not just fight it. Other questions. When you were doing your independent research, where did you go to acquire information? Walk me through in as much detail as possible. Everybody goes and gets information differently. This is an important question to ask a number of clients, a number of customers, a number of different levels. A CFO may go to different places than a COO, than maybe a controller or an end user of a solution. Be cognizant of that. Where are they in the organizational chart? And based on that, where are they going for information? They care about different things, right? But the more you can understand the process and how they're going to acquire information, the more you can visually develop a roadmap for where they're going. The reason it's called a roadmap, right? Think about it like it's in map. We were talking earlier about 30 years ago when you were knocking on doors and building a sales route, as somebody that's knocked doors before and like traditional guerrilla marketing and knocking, hey, can I talk to you, right? You didn't always have Waze or GPSs. You had to print out your map and I'm going to go here to here, here to here, here to here. It's no different in a consumer or a buying journey. They went to a podcast, they listened to a podcast, and they went to a blog. The difference is it's not so organized because they're going to bounce all over the place. Can you walk me through in as much detail the process you took to acquire information as you did your independent research, right? Now we're going to transition into some of the other pieces that really, really get into the details, like how many people were involved in this buying process? Was it formal? Was it informal? When you were discussing, this is the one that if you're gonna walk away with, this is the question that I want you to ask every customer. When you were discussing with the rest of your team, what was the aha moment that everybody or the majority of people, right, shifted in favor of that one vendor you bought from? What created the shift? Do you remember the information that was in reference or the resources that were actively being discussed that proved to be the most compelling? There's always something that creates confidence. Case study, maybe it's a demo, it could be anything. But your ability to understand and create a set and a data analysis around what the aha moment was where they went from having a discussion to making a decision, that is a gold mine opportunity for you to understand That's when the demand was created. They came to a consensus and said, we will purchase something from a company. That's the demand. And it happened behind closed doors. Probably didn't happen on the demo or from a sales pitch. They said, we'll talk about it. We'll think about it. Go to your customer. What was the aha moment where people went from a discussion to a decision, and what resources were actively in play that you feel influenced it the most that created the shift in the buying committee? So let's kind of close things out with a couple like the closing thoughts, right? Now, the last thing we didn't really, how do you engage your peers? We kind of touched on that with the groups, but that's really the last thing I would consider, right? How do you engage your industry peers when looking for feedback on vendors, on products, on solutions, right? Understanding what's happening as it relates to, the social proof kind of thing. People want to talk to people that maybe have bought from you before. So here's the punchline. Go ask the questions that allow you to actually visualize, understand, and align with how your ideal customer is going about solving problems. Understand the obstacles they face internally. Understand the progression from one point to another. Understand the role information and enablement plays in mobilizing change, because that's what we're talking about. We're not just talking about buying things. We're talking about mobilizing change. We're talking about creating consensus. The average right? Think about last Tuesday's episode. 6 to 11 people. That's the on average how many people are in a buying committee. You got to get consensus, right? You have to build consensus. And so when you think about that, how does the information flow, right? Do you think everybody's going to watch a demo and be like, yep, we're sold, send us a contract? Probably not. There's so many other factors in play. How does information mobilize change when there's a dozen people involved in the decision? And then take the feedback. Take all of the information we just talked about, draw it out, literally map it out if you need to, and then create content that literally creates the best possible sales process in the history of the world for that client. Educate them on the category, educate them on the problem, make them the most confident and enabled buyer to make a well-informed, confident decision so that they know where they want to spend their time when it comes down to it, right? The biggest problem for most companies is that they're amplifying mediocre messages in places people don't spend time. It's that simple. It is that simple. And so tying all this together, look, we hope that this outlines some things that are actionable, right? To help you understand how to learn from your buyer. Again, product, success or customer service, and sales. The outbound information or the conversation flow with your customers is not about listening. It's about an agenda that, by the way, is exactly what they're hired to do. So that's not a gripe. I'm not here to complain or say anybody's not doing exactly what they're paid to do. Sales should be closing business, service should be putting out problems, and products should be learning about the product, right? Great product teams are actually understanding the customer journey to align the product, but who's listening to the customer? Who's understanding what's actually happening behind the scene? And if you can do that, and you can build content that really adds value, because all ties back to that same question when you left, Jan. If the way buyers buy changed, shouldn't the way marketers market change too? We're going to keep digging into some of these items, okay? And so with that in mind, we want to thank you for stopping in. This week, we're going to really focus on this concept of learning from our customers. Take the learning, bring it back to the strategy level, optimize the strategy. That is the process. Don't just measure to measure. Too many companies do that. They're just measuring to keep track of things. Go learn, understand, then optimize at the top to be putting things in the right places, aligning to the buyer journey, supporting them each step of the way, because we talked about this last episode, and then we'll close things up. 6 to 11 people at the table. There's more people at the table. Those people are spending increasingly more time doing independent research. The result of that independent research is more information fueling and enabling that decision-making process. The average person is now acquiring 6.9 information sources, 35% more than 2020, which was 5.1 pieces of information. There's 40 to 60 pieces of information at that table at any minute fueling that decision. You own the table, you win the deal. Optimally, you win the category. But if you're not actually talking to your customers to learn, you're just trying to move units, you miss everything. Think about these things, apply these things, and thank you for stopping by the Marketing Water Cooler. We'll be back more. Stay tuned. Hey, thanks so much for sticking around to the end. If you liked the video, smash the like button and hit subscribe so you can stay up to date on all the new episodes. If you have any questions, drop them in the comments. We will fold them into future episodes and make sure that you get the help and the answers you're really looking for all things marketing and communications.